All right. And good day and welcome everyone to today's session of Truly Foundation and a Course in Miracles with your temporary host, your temporary guide, your coach, your teacher, your friend, Oliver Blue. And I am so delighted to be here in this session today. And I hope you are as excited as I am. If you ask most people right now, um, what are their thoughts about the times that we are living in, and you may not get excitement from their response. And that's only because they're looking totally at what is happening in the world at large in terms of all of the um, conflicts that we see that are presently happening across the globe. And so one would have a perspective that the world is not at peace. But that is basically would be a reflection of what has already manifested. That would be a reflection of what is represented in the world of form. And that would be coming from a place of effect and not from a place of cause. That would be an effect statement. That would be the outcome that one would give from the perspective of not a cause, but from the effect of a cause. But here at Truly Foundation, we are all about cause. We are all about source. We're all about purpose. We're all about intention. And so in our quest to not only to discover the cause, but not only are we on a quest to discover the cause, but we're also on a quest to align our self, to align our personal life, our personal journey with I would say, with the purpose or the one self-interest that we all share as a species. And so when I say that today is a great day to be alive and well, to be here on the planet, I'm actually coming from a place of cause and not from a place of effects. I'm not describing what's in the outer world, but I'm actually affirming the truth as I know it. I'm actually affirming the truth as the Course in Miracles is directing and guiding us. And I'm actually bringing awareness to the reality of what will ultimately prevail in life, because life itself is not an effect. Life itself is a cause. And the only reason that there are effects in the world that appear to be misaligned to love, that appears to be in misalignment to peace, because there are effects in the world that appear to be out of integrity with oneness, out of integrity with unity. The reason we got effects that seems to be totally opposed to goodness is because something has gone wrong in the mind of humanity. Something has replaced what our original nature or our original state of being, which is love and sanity and oneness and goodness and abundance. That is our true nature. That is the nature that was given all of us at creation. But something has gone wrong. And you can always point the effects that we see in the world that does not align with our true nature. We can always point to the cause of that. Originating in our thought life, or originating in our mind, or in our thinking. Something has gone wrong in our thinking. And when we look at that, we are really looking at the cause. Because we understand from the course and from science and from psychology and from religion and from spirituality and from just studying nature, we've come to an understanding, and all of these facets of life have really come to agree that there is but one source of life, and that we all emerge from that one source, that we're all sustained by that one source. There is but one source. There is some, science calls it energy, psychology calls it love, and spirituality, we call it God. But we're all talking about the same thing. we sense, we know, we can ascertain when something has gotten out of harmony, something has gotten out of order, because the nature of life is order. You can just look around when you walk outside, and as you look into nature, what you see is order. What you see is what you can come to depend on, something that just like we're in the fall season, right? And like tonight is going to be like our first freeze in the fall season. Well, we expect that to happen when October, November comes around. We expect the temperatures to change. We expect the leaves to change color. We expect the leaves to fall to the ground. We expect animals to put on their winter coats. We expect the sun and the moon and the stars and the skies to reflect to us that there is a change in season. And we can count on that because that's natural, or that's nature. And what we should be able to count on, where humanity is concerned, we should be able to count on the reality that we remain as God created us, as a very reflection of his own self. We should be able to count on love being intact and in place. We should count on our lives being a reflection of the eternal and infinite nature that we all share. We should be able to count on the fact that we've been created in the image and in the likeness of love, or in the likeness or image of our Creator. We should be able to count on it. It should be a certainty that we all have. But some way, somehow, we have taken our eye off the ball. We've taken our focus off the truth. And we're just basically at the mercy of effects. And when we are just at the mercy of effects, then everything is out of order. Everything is out of order. And so that's just my prelude to today's lesson, as we are today going to be looking at one of the final 4 lessons, and this is lesson 362 out of the workbook for students out of the Course in Miracles. And if you have been with me on this journey, you know that this journey has taken us on a deep dive into understanding our true self, understanding our true identity. These workbook lesson has taken us on a deep dive to understand our identification. And most importantly, these lessons has taken us into a deep dive about understanding this marvelous mind of ours and understanding that it is through this marvelous mind, when renewed, when it trained, and when it's disciplined to realign with its true nature and to realign with its true purpose, not as a leader but as a servant. The mind was given to us to be a true servant, to align with the truth that is true always concerning our identification. When we bring the mind into its proper function to serve the truth, then we know that the mind is the greatest servant of all that humanity has been given. It is the tool that we've been given in order to self-correct. We've been given the responsibility to self-correct. That's what the word responsibility means, the ability to respond. We have the ability within all of us to realign ourselves with the truth that is true always, and to embrace the identity that we all share, which is the identity of being created from the one self, from the one source, from the one life, from the one breath that we all share. And to know the oneness that we share, to not only know ourselves as this extension of the one love, but to know all other humanity, to know our brothers, to know our neighbor as we know ourselves, to come to that understanding, to come to that recognition, to remember who we are, to remember who our brother is, and to understand our function to forgive, to let go of the false idea of belief in separation, which is the source of all of our troubles. Yes, that tiny mad idea where somewhere, somehow, we misuse the mind to believe the opposite of what is true. That we're these separate selves, these individual selves, these separate beings, that we're not joined as one, but that we're these individual aided separate entities. And we expounded and allow that idea to grow to where we see the effects of it in the world, where humanity does not understand brotherly love, where humanity has rejected the truth of who he is and who his brother is, to the point where he would absolutely just destroy his brother, not knowing that he's destroying his very own self. And so here we are, with just the last 4 lessons of this 365 lessons that we embarked on, that we're going to look at lesson 361, 362. And I'm just going to read what the lesson says, because again, we're using very little words here as we close out this project, as the course says. It actually says our final lessons will be left as free of words as possible. We use them but at the beginning of our practicing, and only to remind us that we seek to go beyond words. Let us turn to him who leads the way and makes our footsteps sure. To him we leave these lessons, as to him we give our lives henceforth. For we would not return again to the belief in sin, because we've learned here that sin is an illusion. It's not real. It's a man-made idea. That we not return again to the idea of sin or sin consciousness that made the world seem ugly, unsafe. It made the world seem attacking and destroying, dangerous in all its ways, and treacherous beyond the hope of trust and the escape from pain. I'm just reading here out of the first two paragraphs which we went through in lesson 361. And then it goes on to say, it says, his is the only way to find peace. Because the goal of this course is peace. The goal of your personal life has been peace. All of us seek peace. And peace is not just the absence of war, but peace is a state of mind. Peace is an understanding. Peace is a recognition that results in what? A demonstration of love. And so it says, his is the way we find, or his is the way to find the peace that God has given all of us. All of us have been given to peace. Peace is not out there. Peace is not a situation or a circumstance or a condition. Peace is an internal awareness. It is but a recognition of who you are. Because when you recognize who you are, then you recognize who your brother is. Then you recognize your purpose and your function for being here. And so you will operate from this place of recognition, from this place of purpose, from this place of oneness. And when we operate from this place of purpose or oneness, I call it, when we operate from the cause, then we don't have to be concerned about the effect. Because once you walk in the peace of God, you won't have an action that is contrary to that peace. Because you will see the oneness that we share. So you don't have to be concerned about being used or abused when one walks in the peace that have been given to all of us. So peace comes through a knowing. It comes through a conscious awareness of who you are. It has to do with your identification. It is becoming reacquainted with something that always has been. That's what peace is, to be reacquainted with the truth, to be reacquainted with love, to be reacquainted with your true nature. And so it says, his is the way that we find the peace that God has given to us. It is his way that everyone must travel in the end. We're all traveling the same way. It doesn't appear to be, but we're all waking up to the same truth. That's what travel means. Basically, to wake up from the illusion, or to wake up from insanity, or to wake up from guilt and judgment. So all these things are a result or an effect of being asleep, or being unaware, of not recognizing or not remembering but the truth. That's why, like the Course said, this is a course in remembrance. Your life is a journey of remembrance. All the activities and the events of your life, all the relationships in your life, everything that you're doing, everything that you're choosing to be in life, is being used as a way or a means to bring you to the truth, to bring you to the remembrance of the truth. That's why when I read that scripture now where Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me, He wasn't talking about him personally. He was talking about do this in remembrance of your true self, in the oneness that you share with God and with all living things. Prove that your life is acceptable and is the perfect will of love, is the perfect will of God. That is the remembrance. It is the remembrance of the fact that you've been accepted in the beloved. It's a remembrance of your one with your Creator. It's a remembrance of your perfection, that there's nothing wrong with you, but that you are perfect in all your nature. Notice now, I didn't say you were perfect in all your ways, but you are perfect in all your nature. And when we align our thinking and our feelings and our action with our true nature, which is love, then our ways become perfect. Our ways become perfect. We realize the ability that we have, like Jesus said, be perfect even as I am perfect. In other words, walk in the completeness and the wholeness that we share. Walk in the innocence that we share. Walk in the knowing that we all have access to the one life, the one source, the one Father. And so he says, and yet in truth, it is already here. This ending that God himself has appointed. He says it's already here. This journey that we're on, it's already present. It's everywhere present. And it says, and yet in truth, it is already here, already serving us as gracious guidance in the way to go. Let us together follow in the way of truth, or let us follow in the way that truth points out to us. And let us be the leaders of our many brothers who are seeking for the way, but find it not. And there are many that are seeking for the way. In other words, they're seeking to find themselves. All of us started on the journey to find ourselves. Some have awakened to their self and some have not. Some have been so overcome by this world, so overcome by the effects of this world, so drawn away by the appearances in this world that would speak totally contrary to their identification, where they see themselves in a way that they were not created, that would see their neighbor or their brother in a way that will cause them to be at odds with their neighbor or their brother, to see humanity as enemies against one another. And that's so far from the truth. And you don't have to look forward to see that played out on the stage we call this world, where there's brothers against brothers, families against families, parents against children, children against parents, nations against nations, political parties against political parties. It's on every level. But fear not, be not dismayed when you wake up to the truth of who you are. When you come into the recognition of your innocence, of your holiness, of your sinlessness, of your guiltlessness, when you wake up to the knowing of the self and to the knowing of the truth, everything changes. And the first thing that changes is that what? You forgive. You release the world for what you thought it was. You release your brother for who you thought your brother was, as some kind of enemy, because you come to discover that your brother is yourself, and you wouldn't harm yourself. So what? You're not going to harm your brother. You wouldn't take from yourself, so you're not going to take from your brother. It is as simple as the recognition. I like the Course in Miracles because the Course says it this way. The Course says that, and catch this now. The Course says that enlightenment, to be enlightened, and enlightenment is no more than, right, you know what's going on, to be aware. And so the Course says enlightenment is no more than a recognition. Enlightenment is a recognition. It doesn't say anything about some event or some activity or some conversion. It says it's just a recognition. It's when you come to recognize, when you become to embrace your true identification. You recognize who you really are. You recognize your relationship with all living things. You recognize your oneness with God or with the Father. As Jesus said, I and the Father are one. There was an enlightenment moment for him when he recognized that who he was just a reflection of what God is. And they were not two separate entities, but they are one that breathes the same life, that breathes the same breath as we all do. In the natural, that's a reflection of our oneness and the one source that sustains all of us. And it is proof of our equality. It's proof of our equality. That is the nature of love. That's the nature of oneness, is that there is equality. There is no specialness. And you know, like I know, when we get carried away with specialness, when we get carried away with our individuality, it can create a lot of division. It can create a lot of strife. It can create a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of fear. But when we recognize that there is but the one life that we all share, and we share it equally, and that we are no ways divided and cannot be divided, even that we share this one mind, the mind of God, or the mind of Christ, as we sometimes put it. When we understand this one interest that we all have, that we don't have a multitude of interests, but we all have the same one interest, and that is to be the light of the world. That is to be a reflection of the love that we were created in. That is to be a reflection of the eternal life that we all share right now. When we become aware of that, when we, like Jesus said, remember in remembrance of ourself. See, the only really condition to really knowing yourself, the only condition to really knowing the truth, is recognition. It's but remembering. It's but waking up to the truth that has never been altered or never been changed, because truth, or the principle, or God, or love, it's unalterable. It's unchangeable. It is the one thing that we can count on. And so, as we go on in these final lessons and what we are to learn as we culminate these 21 months of being together on this study, it says, and let us be the leaders of our many brothers who are seeking for the way, but find it not. Let us be the leaders. Let us be the light. It says, and to this purpose, and for this reason, let us dedicate our minds. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road, because our minds are busy. Our minds are always busy. Do you know how many thoughts you think in one given minute, let alone an hour or a day? So the mind is busy. And so here it says that we must dedicate our minds if we're going to be about being the light of the world, being the leaders for our many brothers who are seeking to find the way, who's seeking to understand who they are, who's seeking to be delivered from the madness of this world, from the fear and the anxiety of this world, from the troubles that they see on every side. I can remember when I didn't know who I was in my early 20s. I didn't really understand spiritual power. I didn't understand who I was. I didn't know what my true identity was. I didn't understand nothing in the sense that based on the real purpose for life. I didn't. All I knew was what I was taught. All I knew is what I had experienced. And it was somebody else's experience. It wasn't my own, from my own research or from my own discovery. I was living the same anxious, fearful life that everyone else was that had not awakened to the truth. And I can remember how separate that made you feel. I can remember how much it made you feel, or made me feel, that I was on an island by myself against the world. And nothing could be trusted. Everything was an enemy. There was a devil on every corner. And I was full of guilt. And I was judging myself unrighteously. I remember that. And I remember how that made me feel. I remember how that affected the actions and the decisions that I made. And it wasn't good. It wasn't a good place to be in. And I cannot imagine how that feels here in 2023 with all of the advancements that we have made. I can't imagine not knowing my true self here in this present moment with all of the technology that allows us to be everywhere at all times. Right? It takes us right into present day conflicts. It takes us right into situations and circumstances that are not pleasant. It's almost like you experiencing the entire world in real time here in 2023. But I can't imagine it with the mind that I was operating with, not knowing who I was. So if you are listening to this talk I'm having, if you listen to this session, and if you don't feel at peace, if you really are struggling with your identification, if you're really struggling with your relationship with God, your relationship with humanity, if you're really struggling with what you are seeing happening in the world, and it's causing you to not have a healthy outlook upon yourself, a healthy outlook upon your future, if you're concerned about your next generation and what kind of world will be left to them, and you're overwhelmed by all of that, I understand. I was that way at one point. I understand. But I'm here to say there's only one way out of that state of mind, and that is by the truth that is true always, which we have been sharing over these last 21 months here on this platform. And so we've created over 400 videos over the last 21 months. There's over 400 videos right here on this YouTube channel or on this Facebook page, Truly Foundation, that we started from day one with the purpose of what? Finding the peace of God, of finding peace with ourselves and with each other. And so there's a plethora of information that we have shared here. And it's all available to you. It's all free. You can just go and start at the beginning if you like, or you can start in the middle, or you can start at the end. It doesn't matter where you start with this information, because the thing about truth is that no matter where your entry point is, it's all encompassing. You can listen to one of these videos and you'll find that within within each of these videos, there's enough light, there's enough love, there's enough recognition, there's enough awareness, there's enough enlightenment, there's enough revelation to put you on a path of self-discovery, to put you on a path of your spiritual discovery, to put you on the path of awakening. Any of them. Because when truth is being the cause, when truth is the cause, then it's consistent, it is solid. You can take it to the bank. You can depend on it. It's not like the systems of this world that eventually break down because they're built on belief in separation. But truth is built on oneness. Truth is built on love. Truth is built on the only reality that there is, and that is love. Life is love. The principle of love, the law of love, however you want to put it. Jesus said it this way. He said, upon this rock, I shall build my church, or I shall build this foundation that cannot be shaken. Because truth cannot be shaken. Truth cannot be divided. Truth cannot be split into multiple pieces. It is the only thing that shall prevail. It is. And when that becomes your foundation, when that becomes your very life, like he said, the truth will set you free. The truth that you recognize, the truth that you know, it will set you absolutely free from the tyranny of fear and trepidation and anxiety. It will set you free from not knowing. It will set you free from guilt and judgment. It will set you free from the error that we made collectively. So I understand how one can feel when there's not a recognition, when we don't really know the self. Because when you really know yourself, you know God, or you know love, or you know reality, because you and love and God and reality are the same. There is no separation. You are it. It's a matter of how much do you want to embrace this reality? How much do you want to know about your true self? The course reminded us along our journey to not be afraid of love. He was saying not to be afraid of yourself because you are love. This image, or this recreation of God in our own image, that where we have attempted to make God to be some kind of unloving father, or we tried to make God to be this fickle, double-minded being like the lost self is. When we try to make God to be this punitive, mad and angry, schizophrenic, jealous, we recreated God in our own image. And then we became afraid of the image that we recreated. That's how the ego mind works. It is all about keeping you in fear. It's all about keeping you in the dark. It's all about keeping you in division and in separation. That's the only way that is able to even have an expression. It takes the power of love that we have, that we are, and it self-deludes us to give us its power, and then we become the expression of that which we're not, and we don't even like ourselves. But thank God for all of the revelation. Thank God for all of the resources that have been given to humanity over time, and here we are, where there's never been so many resources now to bring us to the truth. Thank God for that, because how would we ever have known the truth? When I talk like this, right? I believe that I'm helping somewhere, someone. And if not, but for the one, I do this because it was someone that got a hold of me. It was someone that helped me. It was someone that pulled me to the side in my darkest hour. And my darkest hour was very dark. But because someone knew the love for themselves, because someone had come out of the prison of religiosity themselves, because someone had recognized for themselves and had freed themselves, and they understood their function now was, like it said here, to let us be the leaders of our many brothers who are seeking the way but find it not. Because someone was there for me when I was confused, when I was self-deceived, when I didn't know who I was. Then they saw me as themselves, and they laid down their life for me. And they became a spokesman for the truth. They became a spokesperson for God. They became a teacher of God. They became a teacher of love. And they helped me. And because of that, I'm sitting here right now. And my only intention here is to help someone to wake up, to help someone to recognize their true self, to help someone walk away from the illusion, from the delusion, and from the self-deception of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. And you will not have that experience by studying the effects in the world. But no, you have that experience when you turn within to the cause, when you turn within yourself, because all the answers are within you. And it starts with a decision to know who you are, a decision to answer the urge and the itch and the pull to go within, to sit in silence, to listen to that which you are being directed to listen to. I had to what? I had to forsake everything that I knew. I had to be willing to forsake everything I knew to find the truth. And it's that way with all of us. You have to be willing to forsake everything. You have to be willing to put it all on the table. You have to be willing to say, I don't know anything. I don't really know anything. All I know is what I've been conditioned by this world. All I know is what I've been taught by religion. All I know is what I see with my two eyes and hear with my two ears out there. And none of that is a cause. All of that is an effect. And in fact, I call it special effects. Because it's not real. It's not real. It's not based on the truth. So because of that, I sit here. I've dedicated my life to being a spokesperson for the truth. I've dedicated my entire life to being the light of the world. I've dedicated my life to forgiving the world, to walking in love. I understand the function that we're all here. I understand the one interest that we all have. I'm talking like that again. And so here in paragraph 4, it says, or in paragraph 3, and to this purpose, let us dedicate our minds, directing all our thoughts to serve the function of salvation. To serve the function of salvation. What is the function of salvation? The function of salvation is to bring the awareness that we remain as God created us. We remain as God created us. That who we are is what God is and who God is. And that cannot be altered and that cannot be changed. And that God has guaranteed that all of us will eventually wake up to this reality. All of us. Because remember, God is love. And love is what all-encompassing. That means that love is everywhere. That means that the illusion of darkness, the illusion of sin, guilt, and fear, the illusion of destruction The temporary display of it is not reality. But when you understand God's plan for salvation, then you can look out. You can look out in the world and look on devastation and remind the mind that what it sees is not the truth. That's not the will of God. That's just a result of the foolishness of man. That's just that simple. And when you understand that, when you bring yourself into alignment with that, then, like it says here, that you will dedicate your mind to directing all your thoughts to serve the function of salvation. It says, unto us, the aim or the purpose is given to forgive the entire world and let the world go free. So we no longer judge the world. We no longer become a stooge to the voices of evil in the world. We no longer are under the imprisonment of separation and the belief in separation. We no longer promote inequality. We no longer see humanity as this divide and conquer encounter, but we see the oneness that we share in the midst of all the chaos. You can see this you can look through all the facade that is going on in the world, that's going on in politics, that's going on all around us, that is not the light of the world. And you can look right past it and right through it and see the truth that is true always. You can look upon all humanity and see the face of Christ in everyone and remember yourself, thus remembering God. Like Jesus said, in the midst of this, you can love the Lord God with all your heart, your mind, and soul. And you can love your neighbor as you love yourself. In the midst of all of this cray and chaos, you can do it. Why? Because you look through this, you see through the smoke screen. You're no longer going to be used to promote hatred and separation and division. You're no longer going to hold on to your grievances and your judgments. You no longer are going to hold on to your prejudices. You no longer are going to see and judge man by his race or his color or his nationality or his gender. You know, that's only temporary form. But no, you see the spirit of the man, and that spirit of the man is the same spirit that you share with all humanity and with God. You see God everywhere and in everyone. It takes what? A dedication of the mind. It takes a discipline of the mind. It takes a renewing of the mind. It takes being transformed from this world system and being transformed. It takes being transformed by the renewing of the mind in order to get the mind to see the truth that is true always. It takes mind training, and that's what we've been doing for 21 months. It doesn't just happen. No, you have to take your mind by the scruff of the neck and say, no, I am no longer promoting that. I am no longer going to allow my words in my mouth to be used to promote separation and division and strife. But my mouth is a love piece and it speaks the peace of God. It's a spokesperson for God. It's a spokesperson for love. It's a spokesperson for reality, for unity, for oneness. So the aim is to forgive the world. When you wake up, the first thing you'll do, what? Let the whole world go free. You let go of your judgments. Not knowing that when you let the world go free, you're letting yourself go free. When you stop holding grievance towards others, you stop holding grievance against yourself, because the other is yourself. Your brother is yourself. Don't let this body of flesh fool you. There may be 8 billion people on the planet embodied, but there's only one of us here in spirit. I'm going to say that again. The census say that there's 8+ billion people on the planet right now, embodied, meaning in an individual human body. But in reality, what the Spirit says is there's only one of us here. So what is your worldview? What is your view of the world? What is your view of your neighbor, of your brother? What is your view of yourself in light of what we just said? Are you going to see 8 billion individual bodies as separate entities? Or do you see the one self that we share? Do you see that all things are one thing? That's spiritual sight. That is the mind of Christ. That is the recognition. That is remembrance of yourself. Because when you look through the eyes of Christ, when you look through the eyes of oneness, when you understand that all things are the one thing, no matter what form it might take, and it might be in a form that doesn't promote oneness, but that is only temporary. But when you see only the oneness of God, and you come to understand the purpose of that oneness, then your life becomes a reflection of that oneness. Your life becomes a representation, like Jesus said, you are the light of the world. The world needs to see this love in you, this light in you. Those around you need to see this love and light within you. They need to know that they are forgiven. They need to know that you're not holding anything against them. And in so doing, you are just as much a part of God's plan for salvation as God is. And your life in that moment becomes very meaningful. It has deep meaning. And your life in that moment, it has a good purpose. It is the unification of the oneness that we share. And you're right in the center of it. You are right with God being put on display, regardless of where you are or who you're with. You let that light shine. And in so doing, you help to bring a recognition and an awakening to those around you by your love, by your demonstration of your love. And so we forgive the world. And remember, the Course said the world is nothing but it's a false idea about yourself. We forgive that falsity that we held about ourselves. And now we begin to see through the eyes of Christ. We begin to see through the oneness that we share. And so it is the goal that God has given us. This is our function. This is our goal. This is what life is about. And you still get to keep the girl and the car and the house and you get to do the things that you want. That's all good too. Why? Because that's all God. That's all a part of it. But now it can be used in a constructive way and not a destructive way. It becomes not the end, but a means to the end. We no longer look for happiness and fulfillment and joy and peace and recognition through things, but we utilize the things to touch the lives of others. Now we put things in their proper perspective. It is God's ending to the dream we seek and not our own. So we no longer operate from a self-interest, but we operate from the one interest that we share. It is the goal that God has given unto us. It is His ending to the dream we seek and not our own. For all that we forgive. Now, I want you to listen to this. This is important. For all that we forgive, everything that you let go, for everything that you let go, for everything that you forgive, for every error that you've ever held, and now you let it go for the truth, for everything that we forgive. It says, for all that we forgive. So forgiveness is our function as well. Two things here. If you didn't know what your function was, Jesus said it this way: to be the light of the world. In other words, to put on display your true nature of love. That's your function. The second function is forgiveness. To forgive, meaning to let go of the falsehood, to let go of the deception, to let go of the belief in separation. To let go of the inequality, to let go of this idea of specialness, special groups, special organization. Special, how we divide ourselves, by politics, by race, by nations, by cities, by towns, by families, all the ways that one can divide itself and separate itself. We've tried it and it doesn't work. It only promotes more division. We let that go. We forgive that. That was a wrong idea I had about life. I let it go. And now see all things, all people as the one thing. And so he says, for all that we forgive, we will not fail to recognize as part of God Himself. So everything we release that we was holding, everything that we were judging, it says it was all a part of God. So when we forgive our neighbor, we're forgiving God. When we forgive our neighbor, we're forgiving ourselves, because we come to discover that all of it was a part of God Himself. So we let the entire world go free. Why? Because it's all come from the one source. That's what Jesus meant when He said it through Paul over in 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, can't remember the book, but he says, God was in Christ, reconciling the entire world, back to Himself. Because there is nothing but God. And if there's anything, it comes from the one source. It may not be demonstrating the nature of that source, which is love. It may be in self-deception, but it's still of the one source. And so God said, we forgive all of it. And when you forgive all of it, you recognize that all of it was a part of the one self that we all share. So when we release another, we're releasing our very own selves. And thus, the memory of God is given back. Because the memory of God is the memory of who you are. Thus, the memory of God is given back when we forgive, when we recognize that all things are one thing. That's where the memory comes. That's where you come to recognize your true identity, the one self that you share with God and everything that lives. And when you discover this for yourself, you have become, like Jesus said, who the Son has set free is free indeed. It comes through recognition. It comes no other way. You can be baptized in the ocean. You can pray 1,000 prayers. You can do all this religious stuff. And we all done it. Trying to find, you can pay all your money. You can do all those things that the religious leaders tell you. But none of that will bring you to a recognition. What brings you to a recognition of the one self that we share is a renewed mind. What brings you to a recognition is your forgiveness. True forgiveness. And it has nothing to do with what someone did. You recognize that what your brother did was nothing. It didn't have anything to do with it. That was just a distraction. But love even uses all of the distractions in our lives, all of the deceptions in our lives, all of the falsity in our lives to still point us to the truth. So everything in life is pointing you to the truth. If we will but make the decision that we choose for the truth, that we come to a point that there must be a better way, because this way ain't working. This way ain't bringing me no peace. And thus his memory is given back completely and complete. So that's the goal. The memory of God. That's the goal. The memory of yourself. Because there's only one self. It's your God self. And so, to culminate this lesson 362, peace be unto me, the holy creation of God. Peace be unto you, the holy creation of God. Peace to my brother, who is one with me. Because there's only one of us. Let all the world be blessed with peace through us, through the recognition of this oneness. Father, it is your peace that we would give, receiving it of you. We are your creation, forever, just as you created us. This is what we come to understand. Just as you created us. We are forever that way. All of the human history that has been put on display, none of that has changed anything. We are your creation, and we remain as you created us. For the great rays remain forever still and undisturbed within us. The changeless remains changeless. The unaltered remains unaltered. As you are, Father, so are we in this world right now. We would reach to them in silence and in certainty. For nowhere else can certainty be found. Peace be to us, and peace to all the world, in holiness were we created. Let me say that again. In holiness were you created, and that holiness cannot be changed. In holiness were we created, and in holiness do we remain. Regardless of your spiritual journey, your religious journey, you are the holy creation of God. That's a fact. It's a matter of fact. The Father's creation is like his Father in perfect sinlessness. If you have never thought of yourself that way, you can begin to think of yourself that way today, because you are. You are the perfect sinlessness that God created. The movie was just that. It was just a movie. It wasn't reality. Our personal life, it was just a movie. It's not reality. So when you wake up to the reality, you realize what? That you are what? The holiness, the sinlessness, the guiltlessness that you were created to be. It remains that way. And with this thought, and with this perfect thought, and with this whole and complete thought, this holy thought, knowing who you are, recognizing and realizing the truth of who you are, it is with this thought that we gladly say, Amen. And so it is. All right, that's Workbook Lesson 362. I didn't know it was going to come out that way, but hey, there is one that's leading and guiding us into all truth. And when you let him lead and guide, he leads you and guides you into all truth. You just say yes, and you go with it. I never know how these lessons are going to go, but I just know that I've given myself over to allowing my life to yield to the truth that is true always, because that is what we need. That is where our salvation is. Putting all else aside, putting my pride aside, putting what people think about me aside, putting what religions say aside. I even put all human history aside. And in this moment, in this present moment, I allow that voice that speaks for God to speak through me. And I come to discover it's my very own voice. It's your very own voice. It's your very own life. It's the one life that we share. So it helps all of us, right? It helps all of us. So thank you so much. We'll be back soon with Workbook Lesson 363. And until then, you remain the holy, sinless, guiltless creation of God, and it cannot be altered. And with that thought, we say, Amen. Bye-bye.